we're going to get into a couple of our favorite young players in the league, a couple of league favorites. One of them has been experiencing more turmoil than the other, but they're still both big promising building blocks for a couple of franchises. Now, Dalton, who would you rather take to build your franchise between Luka Doncic and Zion Williamson?
All right. So injuries aside, if we put injuries aside, it's Zion. And I'll tell you why. So I think Zion obviously will be he's easier to build around. Not the best. Obviously, if I had a choice to pick up any of them, I would pick up either of them. Luka's a great player. Zion's a great player. But Zion, so last year, 27 points, 7.2 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 61, 29, 70. So those are shooting splits. So obviously 61 is the number that jumps out. He shot 35 his rookie year, 29 his second year from three. I think gets league average the way he is. Same thing with Giannis. He got it to work at league average. I think that's fine. I think he's in the right director.
Oh, so he's Giannis now.
He's good. I mean, he's like that's a comparable player in the way they play. Luka this year, in the league. yeah. He's my MVP. No, he's not. Curry's my MVP, but Giannis is second. But he deserves it. I wouldn't be mad if he won it. But Luka.
Good point.
So Luka had his own. I'll let you explain his stats, but Zion's obviously has the better defensive potential. His rookie year, he struggled with defense a little bit, started getting into it the latter half of last year. Obviously, he's been out all this year, but very efficient field goal, which is very nice to see. So, but he's not a ball dominant guard like Luka is. So you have that flexibility where 70% of his shots are at the basket, 100% of his threes are assisted, referring to Zion. 60% of his twos are assisted. So there's a numerous different guards that you could fit at the one or the two that are more ball dominant or less ball dominant, where they can still make the outlet pass. Like guys, Zion was Lonzo Ball was a perfect fit. I don't know why they just let him go. Like guys that. Like
we talk about that one all the time.
Yeah. But when you get into like Luka, like he's a ball dominant guard. To find a guard that like an all-star guard or just a superstar next to him that's not as ball dominant, like a Curry who can be ball dominant, but also he can play super well off ball. Bradley Beal who needs the ball a little more in his hands. It's guys like that, like you just directly taking the ball away from Luka. But when you get a build around a guy like Zion, obviously, like he doesn't need the ball. I mean, he's not going to bring the ball up I mean, he could, I guess, but you're going to have someone else bring up the ball, so they're going to have a higher usage. I mean, he only has Zion has a 30% career usage rate, and Luka has a 35. So I mean, 35. So obviously, Lucas has gone up the last few years up to like 40%, and it's getting higher as the team grows. So he doesn't need the ball in his hands, and it's just easier that way to get a second star that can, rather than finding a second star that plays more off ball or doesn't need the ball to be effective like you'll need with Luka. And also, Zion gets to the free throw a lot better. He can get to the line and create his own, like not just being super efficient at the line. I mean, at the on inside, about, like I said, 70% at the basket. He has a 50% free throw rate, as Lucas is only like 39. And honestly, their 3-point shooting is not that different. I mean, they both Zion shot 29% last year. Luka's shooting 29% this year. Granted, Luka obviously takes 8 a game. So it's like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big step down in Luka's shooting percentage this year. I expect it to go back up for his 3-point, that is.
Luka's career 3-point is only hit league average at 35. And Zion's rookie year, he was at 35.
For it to be down 6%, that's a lot. You got to expect it's going to go back up.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it's not as extreme. It's not this large deficit between Zion and Luka as for the 3-point shot, aside from volume. Obviously, Luka's taking more. Zion's taking part. Yeah. However, Zion's as efficient as you need him to be down below, more than. So that's what. Obviously, they both need shooters next to them. That's not the worst thing. Like Luka's a better playmaker.
That's the case with any star in this league.
Yeah. But as a power forward, Zion, he's certainly up to 4 assists this last year. Like this guy's more of a playmaker than a typical power forward would be, I'd say. Aside from like your Draymond Green, Aaron Gordon, usually they're pretty stagnant off-ball type players. So he certainly can be a decent playmaker as is. I just see him easier to build around than Luka as a ball dominant guard like Luka. That's my argument.
Well, Luka is so ball dominant that he's led the league in usage percentage the last 2 seasons. The man is the controller. Why would you want to start your team with anyone else than a guy that can control the entire map? Now, unfortunately, the Mavericks, they don't have like talented players around him. You plop Luka on that team that New Orleans has and replace Zion with Luka, it's a probably a top 2 seed in the West, guaranteed.
Wow,
maybe
really?
top, for sure. It would have Luka, who'd be dishing it out to Brandon Ingram. He'd be tossing it out to my boy Jonas Valanciunas, Josh Hart. We were talking about him earlier. He's good too. That'd be a great squad. It'd be a great squad if Zion was there too, but he's never healthy, which is why that is one of the greatest reasons why Luka is the better option, because Zion's missed more games than he's played. And I understand like the argument you can have that he's going to have the same trajectory that Joel Embiid has had, but I would say that is best case scenario for sure. Best case scenario, you're nursing this guy for a quarter of the season, every season till the rest of his career. He probably retires a little earlier, but he's a star every year. That's best case scenario. It could fucking totally go Greg Oden on this bitch too, or it could go anywhere in between. We don't really know. So I don't know. To invest a ton of money in him after this year, I would be scared about doing that. I think maybe they have another year to wait on that, hopefully. Because right now I would start my team with Luka, the guy who's been there, the guy who dominated with Slovenia over in the Olympics, the guy who has averaged over 25 points or over 23 points a game every year in his career, basically. He's ascending. The scoring's going up every year. And, his turnovers aren't great. I'll admit that. But his shot percentage isn't a falter of being poor at taking shots. It's just a matter of taking the wrong ones. And hopefully the older he gets, the more mature he gets, that's only going to get better as well. And we've seen his clutch gene, man. This guy is one of the most clutch players in the entire league with his step back 3 especially. And I don't know, he's got something. He's got that X factor is what I feel like.
Not who's the better player. It's who's easier to build around. And Luka's defense might get a little better than it is now, but Zion's defensive potential, he already took a huge jump his second year, and once he gets back, I expect him. And it's not like he's a failed concept. He's 27 points last year. I think it was 24 the year before. Like he's shown that he's a really all-star type player.
0 games played this year.
Most of that's due to they didn't want him to come back. That's where all that friction was.
Right.
But
then he re-injured it because his fat ass can't carry the weight.
Yeah, he does have to lose weight.
That's the truth. And also, Luka is the easier one to build around because he is the better player. Like that is a major factor, and he's the guy who's been there.
Better player right now.
I feel like you put talented guys around him, you would see a different story. Like we're seeing Jalen Brunson's really good over there, but what good is that? He's basically his backup. He's not going to be an effective 2 guard in this league. They need a really, really talented big man in Dallas. I don't know where they're going to get it, man.
Well, but that's like the perfect proof. So like if you took Luka and you put him on the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram wouldn't be the same because he wouldn't be the same because Brandon Ingram also needs the ball a lot. And they would directly taking the ball out of either Luka or Brandon Ingram's hands. And perfect example is Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, when Luka doesn't play, plays great. He's awesome. He's 18 point per game, Yeah, 7 assists, point guard. He's plays nice defense, not the best shooter, but I mean they're not losing that much. But when he plays with Luka, the ball's never in his hands. He can't create because he's a ball dominant guard. Luka really does affect guards that need the ball to be effective or even like the ball to be effective. Like he goes from like an 18-point per game scorer down to like a 12-point per game, Jalen Brunson, because the effect Luka has such a high usage rate. And but it's the same thing with like I understand like with same thing with Trae Young. Like Trae Young he runs one of the like capability of the best offense. When he's off, his plus when Trae Young's not playing for his team, destroyed. Same thing with Luka. They are just awful. Their offense is non-existent. They're just a single player that can create an offensive scheme. Like that's great. Like Zion can't do that. However, the usage rate is almost too much where you only need role players around them that can create off ball. Maybe one secondary playmaker, but that's why I see that's so specific. It's hard to build around as it's more open with Zion. You can just you can get a few fringe playmakers, or you can get like a big deal. Like you can get like Zion would fit perfectly with Luka, and Luka would fit perfectly with Zion because Zion's such a nice ball. But like you can take Zion and put him on just about every team in the league and he'll fit. Luka, not necessarily.
Yeah, I'd rather take the born star, and I can find those role players elsewhere. I think the Mavericks have screwed up by, trading some of their chips too early for a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, but they had the right idea. They knew they needed to get a really talented big man, and if they can still do that, they'll be great. But I think we're in agreement here that Luka is the guy to build around. And we'll move on to the next section of Strictly Ball Business.